Section 1. The experience of being deeply perceptive. It's like walking into a party with a telescope strapped to your face. Imagine stepping into a room where everyone is laughing, drinking, mingling, light bouncing off the surface of conversation like sunlight on water. But you're not part of it. You don't just see the smiles, you see the forced ones. You don't just hear the words, you hear the pain underneath them. It's like walking into a party with a telescope strapped to your face, zoomed in on every twitch of discomfort, every contradiction between someone's tone and their eyes. Where others see ease, you see effort. Where others see connection, you see performance. This isn't just about being observant. It's about feeling everything in high definition. You catch the subtle shifts in body language, the quick flashes of insecurity, the way someone's laugh doesn't quite match the rhythm of their words. You notice who's looking for the exit, who's pretending to be interested, who's silently crying for someone to really see them. And the strangest part? You do. You see them completely. But here's the paradox. The more you see, the more isolated you feel. Because in a room full of people operating at surface level, you can't help but feel like an alien, like you were born tuned into a frequency that most people don't even know exists. And when you try to point it out, to share what you sense, you're often met with confusion, dismissal, or even discomfort. Because you're not just hearing the music everyone else is dancing to. You're also hearing the dissonant notes no one wants to admit are there. Being deeply perceptive is a gift, but it comes with a heavy tax. It means constantly managing what you notice, what you choose to speak about, and what you quietly carry. It means knowing too much in a world that's uncomfortable with too much truth. You don't just see the world, you feel it deeply, painfully, beautifully, and that can make everyday life feel like an emotional minefield. Sometimes it feels like the telescope is glued to your face and no one else even realizes there's a universe they're missing. Section 2. The weight of emotional radar. You feel everything, not just your own emotions, but everyone else's too. Being deeply perceptive isn't just about what you see, it's about what you feel. It's like walking through the world with an emotional radar always on, always scanning, always picking up signals. You don't just notice the shift in someone's voice. You feel the tension in their chest. You don't just observe someone's sadness. It sticks to you like fog, lingering long after the conversation is over. You become a sponge, soaking up the moods and energies around you whether you want to or not. A stranger's irritation, a friend's hidden anxiety, the unspoken grief in someone's eyes. You absorb it all, and sometimes it's hard to tell where their emotions end and yours begin. You can walk into a room and instantly sense if something is off, even if no one says a word. People tell you you're too sensitive, but what they don't understand is that your sensitivity isn't just personal, it's relational. You feel for people, you feel with them, often you feel instead of them. And while that makes you incredibly empathetic, it also makes you exhausted, because constantly feeling the emotional undercurrents of every interaction is like carrying invisible weights. You can't just shake it off. You carry people's heartbreaks in your chest. You replay conversations in your mind, analyzing the pauses, the words left unsaid. Even joy can feel overwhelming, because you feel that too just as intensely. What others call moodiness or overreacting is often just emotional overflow, the result of experiencing the world on a deeper level than most can imagine. It's why you sometimes need solitude, not because you're antisocial, but because you need to breathe without carrying someone else's feelings on your back. And yet, despite how heavy it can be, you wouldn't trade it, because that emotional radar is also what allows you to connect with people in ways that feel rare, real, and unforgettable. It's the reason someone can sit across from you and feel seen for the first time. It's why people open up to you, why they say, "I've never told anyone this before." You may carry the weight of the world in your heart, but in doing so, you remind others that they're not alone in theirs. Section 3. The curse of overthinking. You don't just think, you analyze, dissect, relive, and forecast all at once. Your mind doesn't rest, it replays. Every conversation, every glance, every decision. You rewind the moment, slow it down, search it for hidden meanings like a detective solving a case no one else realizes exists. Someone says, "I'm fine," and your brain immediately starts questioning. Were they? Was their tone too sharp? Did they pause too long? Did I say something wrong? Could I have said it differently? Should I check in again? But what if that annoys them? What if I already annoyed them? You don't just think, you spiral. And you do it with depth and detail. You analyze situations from every possible angle, trying to prepare for every possible outcome. You live in the present, the past, and the potential future, all at once. To some, it looks like indecisiveness. But to you, it's not about being unsure. It's about being too sure of too many possibilities. You see every branch of the tree before you pick a leaf. You're constantly bracing for the unspoken consequences, the hidden meanings, the what-ifs that most people never even consider. This is the curse of a perceptive mind. It doesn't know how to let things go. You see too much, so you think too much. A simple email without a smiley face can feel cold. A quick reply can feel dismissive. Silence can feel loud. And so you start explaining, justifying, softening, not because you're insecure, but because you're deeply aware of how easily things can be misinterpreted, how deeply words can cut, how easily connections can be lost. So you play every move like chess. You think 6 steps ahead. You try to avoid missteps, even when there's no real threat. But the irony is, in trying so hard to understand everything, you end up overwhelmed by everything. Still, in that overthinking, there is care. There is thoughtfulness. There is a desire to do right by people. And sometimes that's what makes you a safe space. Someone who notices the subtleties, who takes nothing lightly, who loves with attention and intention. But yes, sometimes you wish you could just turn it off. Just for a moment, just to breathe. Section 4. Carl Jung and the Shadow Self. Carl Jung didn't study behavior to make people normal. He studied behavior to make people whole. Jung knew the real danger wasn't in the darkness, it was in ignoring it. He said we all carry a shadow, the parts of ourselves we deny, suppress, or are too afraid to acknowledge. The jealousy, the rage, the neediness, the fear, the hunger for power, the craving for love that looks too much like weakness. You wear a mask to function in the world. We all do. But beneath it lives the shadow. And it doesn't disappear just because you pretend it's not there. It festers. It sneaks out in the middle of the night, in your dreams, in your reactions, in your projections. It lives in your patterns, your relationships, your guilt. And then there's the anima and animus, the inner feminine in men, the inner masculine in women, energies that dance within all of us. If left unconscious, they rule us. If understood, they balance us. Jung didn't believe in perfection. He believed in integration. Becoming whole isn't about being good. It's about being true. It's about walking into the dark corners of your psyche with a lantern, not to destroy what you find, but to see it. You can't evolve by running from yourself. You evolve by turning around, looking the shadow in the eyes and saying, I know you, you're me, let's talk. Because healing isn't about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you which parts were unlovable and reclaiming all of it. Section 5. Emotional Patterns and Relationship Chaos. You'll fall in love with the fantasy. You'll battle with partners. It's not because you're foolish. It's because you're wounded. Most of us don't fall in love with people. We fall in love with the idea of them. We fall in love with the possibility of what they could be, with the missing piece we've been searching for, unknowingly trying to rewrite a story that began long ago in our childhood. Your partner becomes the stage upon which you reenact the patterns of your past, and your unresolved trauma becomes the script. So the cycle begins. The partner who is distant reminds you of the love you had to chase for approval. The partner who criticizes you echoes the voice of a parent who never quite seemed satisfied. The one who needs rescuing feeds your inner hero, making you feel powerful and needed. You aren't dating people. You're dating emotional patterns. You're repeating the same script with new actors playing familiar roles. And in all the chaos, something feels oddly familiar. That's the crux of it. That's what makes it so difficult to break free, because it feels like home, even when it's painful, even when it threatens to tear you apart. Your nervous system tells you this is how love feels. You'll keep returning to these same lessons, just in different bodies, until you pause, until you look within, until you stop blaming others and start asking, what inside me is being mirrored right now? Because relationships don't create your wounds. They reveal them. They tear off the bandages you didn't even know were there. And if you're willing, if you're brave enough, they can become the mirror that leads you back to your truest self. Section 6. The mirror within. And it's not a clean process, honesty. It's messy, unflattering, raw, to look into the mirror and not just see your potential, but also your pride, your fear, your pettiness, your resentment, the parts of you that you try to hide when others are watching, the stories you've told yourself to survive. You say you're compassionate, but are you when you're triggered? You say you're confident, but is that really strength or just armor you've built to shield yourself? You say you're healed, but why does the same wound still bleed when it's touched? Growth is not an aesthetic. It's not about crystal grids or journaling in the mornings. Growth is found in the breakdowns, in the moments when you realize you've hurt someone. It's in the tough admissions, admitting that you're not always the hero of your story. Sometimes you're the villain. Sometimes you're the victim. Sometimes you're just the fool. But here's the paradox. That very confrontation, that very reckoning with yourself, it's freedom. Because once you stop hiding from yourself, no one can hold anything over you. You're not performing anymore. You're not begging for validation. You've already seen yourself. And that is the deepest kind of peace. The mirror within is brutal, yes, but it's also sacred, because that reflection, shadow and all, is the doorway to your most authentic life. And when you stop rejecting it, when you start loving even the ugliest truths about yourself, you begin to become something rare. You become real. Section 7, the Cassandra complex. Some people carry their burden in silence. Cassandra did both. She saw it coming, the fall of Troy, the deception, the death. She screamed until her voice cracked, but no one listened. They called her mad, cursed, dramatic. She wasn't mad. She was right. That's the curse of the deeply perceptive. To see the truth before it happens, to feel the subtle shift in energy, to sense the lie beneath a smile, to notice the unraveling thread long before anyone else even sees the fabric begin to fray. You warn them. You say, "This isn't right. Something's off." They laugh. They roll their eyes. They tell you to calm down, stop overthinking, lighten up. And so, eventually, you stop saying anything at all. You go quiet, not because you don't care, but because you're tired of being misunderstood. And yet, you still know. This is the Cassandra complex. To carry the gift of foresight, but to feel it as a burden, to see clearly yet live in exile, to walk through life like a lighthouse no one believes is even lit. It's lonely to see what others refuse to acknowledge. But don't let their blindness make you doubt your sight. You are not crazy. You are just early. Section 8. The choice between truth and belonging. But here's the danger. The more often you're ignored, over time you begin to wonder if silence is safer. You start questioning whether belonging, being accepted, included, understood, is worth the cost of your voice. And so you compromise. You sit at tables where everyone nods in agreement to things you know aren't true. You laugh at jokes that bruise your spirit. You wear masks that never quite fit. trying to mold yourself into shapes that make others comfortable, even if they distort who you really are. It becomes a slow erosion. Every time you betray your truth just to maintain a connection, something within you begins to rot. You feel it in your chest, the ache of misalignment, the dull hum of dissonance, the silent grief of self-abandonment. A sadness that doesn't shout, but lingers. Eventually, there comes a moment of reckoning. You realize that you can belong to others, or you can belong to yourself, but not both. Because the price of truth is steep, it demands the surrender of approval, comfort, and certainty. Yet the reward is beyond measure. It offers peace of mind, inner alignment, and the kind of freedom that only authenticity can grant. The world may not celebrate your decision to live honestly. It might even reject you for it. But the beauty is, when you choose to stand in your truth, you stop needing applause. You no longer crave validation from spaces that suffocate you. You don't need a seat at every table, just the courage to leave the ones where your soul cannot breathe, because you weren't made to blend in with the sleeping. You were made to wake up and stay awake. Section 9, the parable of the wise king and the poisoned. Well, let me tell you about him. A king, a wise one. He ruled with fairness, clarity, and vision. His people prospered under his leadership, guided by his insight and unwavering sense of truth. But one night, something changed. A well in the kingdom was poisoned, and as the people drank from it, they slowly began to lose their minds. Their behavior shifted, but more than that, their beliefs warped. What once was obvious to them now seemed absurd, and the wisdom of their king began to appear as madness in their eyes. The king, who had not drunk from the poisoned well, observed this transformation with horror. The very people he had led with justice now turned against him. They whispered among themselves, questioning his sanity, declaring, "The king has lost his mind." Faced with the threat of revolt and total alienation, the king found himself at a terrible crossroads. And so he made a decision. He drank from the well. Immediately the people celebrated, proclaiming, "Our king is sane again." But he wasn't sane, not in the truest sense. He had merely joined them in their delusion. He no longer saw with clear eyes, but through the same poisoned lens as everyone else. This story illustrates the true cost of clarity in a world that thrives on illusion. To see what others refuse to acknowledge is not just isolating, it is threatening. The world doesn't hate the truth because it is false. It hates the truth because it is inconvenient, because truth demands reflection, change, accountability, and awakening. So what do you do when you see clearly in a world that does not? Do you drink the poison to feel normal, to be accepted, to blend in? Or do you hold on to your clarity, even if it means walking alone? It is not an easy choice. The answer is brutal. But if you've made it this far, you already understand. Sanity isn't found in consensus. It is found in awareness. The path of the perceptive is often solitary, but it is also sacred. Because while the world may continue to sleep, you remain awake, and that is both your burden and your gift.